What if that thing you call your personality is just a habit that your brain stopped questioning? You know you need to go to the gym, but you don't. You know you have to apply for that opportunity, but you don't. You know to stop procrastinating, and yet you find yourself doing the exact opposite of what you know you should be doing and is good for you to do. That gap between knowing and doing is where most people get stuck, and it has nothing to do with laziness, intelligence, or even ambition. In fact, most of the people that are stuck there are highly functioning people. They go to work, they handle responsibilities, they manage life just fine. But so much about performance isn't about skill sets and knowledge. It's about the ability to turn knowledge and skill sets into consistent action. And that's much harder than people think. Hi, I'm Muge, your performance coach. In this channel, I try to break down psychology, neuroscience, and philosophy to understand why even when we know what to do, we can't always do it. Now, if that's something that interests you, please subscribe. From a neuroscience perspective, your brain isn't always trying to make your life better, it's trying to make your life easier. Your brain consumes a lot of energy, and it is trying to optimize its energy, which means that it's trying to do a lot of work for less energy. Some things take a lot more energy. For instance, thinking carefully takes energy, making conscious decisions takes energy, changing behavior takes a lot of energy. Essentially, your brain is trying to find shortcuts to preserve that energy. And if you think of your brain like as a company would, if a company wants to make a decision on a certain new process, they go through a whole lot of meetings and evaluations, etc., before they make a decision. But once they've already made the decision, it will become automatic. So the company will not go through the entire process again to make that decision. It will be done right away. If you think of your brain in a similar way, it's kind of like a company. So when the first time you're confronted with a certain decision or something that you have to think about before you do anything about it, your brain will go through a lot of processes before you make the decision and before you respond to that. But once you've done it a few times, it starts to learn that a certain stimuli creates a certain response or a certain reaction. And it will learn that. So at the next time it sees that stimuli, it predicts a certain outcome and a certain behavior from you. So at first, a behavior might be intentional, but over time, it will become automatic. Think of it like if you're driving from work to home, from point A to B. The first 10 times you take that route, you're very much conscious about where you're turning, what's next to you, where the red light is, etc., right? But after a year of going to work almost every day, you might get from point A to B and not even remember how you got there. You get to the point where you were and then you don't remember actually taking that turn. That's how automatic your brain has learned that behavior, and that the same applies to how you act, how you work, and etc. So the more you react a certain way, the more your brain starts predicting that behavior and the more automatic that behavior will become. For example, the more you avoid difficult tasks, your brain will expect avoidance. If you overthink every decision before you make one, it will expect hesitation from you. That's where people get stuck, because repetition creates familiarity, and familiarity feels safe to your brain in some ways. So it will be like, oh, I know this, I will do that. It doesn't mean that what it does is actually to your benefit. This is where it gets interesting. Your brain prefers familiar discomfort over unfamiliar uncertainty. That means that if you learn something, your brain will prefer that to having to think and make decisions, simply because of the energy. And you see that a lot for example, relationships. People who had a traumatic childhood where they had an abusive parent, often we know and we see them being in relationship with people that are also not healthy relationships. And the reason that repeats itself is because as a child, they've learned this. And even if it isn't good for them, that's how they operated with, and that's how they know what to do. You're not failing because you don't know what to do better or you don't have the ability to perform better. We're just operating at the state of what the brain has started to predict, and we're repeating a pattern that we've learned. The longer a pattern is repeated, the more it starts feeling like an identity. And that's when we hear things like, oh, this is who I am. I've always been like that. I'm just not a wake up early kind of person. I've always been a procrastinator. That's when those sentences start feeling like a personality rather than something you've learned and repeatedly done in your life. And I think this is why the work of Carl Jung is still relevant today. Jung believed that much of human behavior operates outside conscious awareness, patterns that we never examined and that quietly run us in the background. He wrote that when something stays in the unconscious, it tends to play a role in our life anyway. And we call the result fate, when it was simply something we never looked at directly. If you never question your automatic behaviors, they will start running you in the background, and eventually, when you repeat them enough times, you start identifying with them. This is why I think so much of performance isn't just about skill and knowledge, it's about awareness. Specifically, the ability to notice the gap between the stimuli and the reaction. Peak performance essentially is not just about discipline, so much of it is about awareness. The ability to notice what happens between that trigger and the reaction. That small moment where your automatic pattern wants to take over. Because I think peak performance is so much about optimizing that little gap and making that space bigger between trigger and reaction. So instead of reacting automatically, you start becoming conscious of what it is you want to do because of it. And I think that's where change really starts. I hope you found this useful. Thank you for watching, and stay tuned for more.